one game to go in the regular season. And then the Kentucky Wildcats is going to the SEC tournament. One thing that really has been on my mind is the supporting cast of our Wildcats. I think we know what we have in our starters, but what about our supporting cast guys? Anthony Emanor, Brandon Garrison, Trent Noah, Travis Perry, and Collins Chandler. What about those guys? What exactly is their role going in as supporting cast into postseason play? Now, it doesn't really matter what we think about whether we think Perry can play defense or not. It doesn't really matter if we think Garrison might take too many threes and he needs to go down low. But I guess if he's making threes and he can't play with his back, it's a lot of things that we can look at here with those guys who we consider supporting cast and coming off the bench. As long as Butler is healthy, I guess whatever that really means, as long as he is healthy and on the floor, that's going to be our starting five, the ones who's starting now. But that ain't really what has my interest right now. My interest and my mindset is, what are we going to get when those guys got to come out of the game? Those guys ain't, that they can't stay in the game for 40 minutes every single ball game. It just, it don't work like that. It doesn't. Now, situation, maybe, but we know that Mark Pope is going to put those five guys in the ball game at some point. How many minutes? That's still unclear. So what do we get from these guys? I want to know what you guys' expectations are of when we put our supporting staff in. Is this a group of guys that's going to come in and after this long of a season, do they completely know what their role is? Or are they going to come in and try to do too much? Because right now, what we need guys that understands that if Kentucky basketball is going to be exactly what we need them to be, then we need to be able to count on those guys, and we need them to stay within their lane. So look, we know that he's one heck of a shooter. We know Noah can shoot the basketball, but we're going to need Noah, when he comes in the ball game, we're going to need him to rebound at an extra high level. We're going to need him to use his big mountain body to grab some boards. Have we seen it done before? Absolutely. We've seen it done before. When Ansley comes in the ball game, are we going to need him to hit some big time shots in the corner? Yes. Top of the key? Yes. We're going to need all of this. And I don't think enough attention, because these guys have kind of been up and down all year. And from game to game, we're not really sure which one of those guys is going to step up and going to make the biggest impact in the ball game possible. So moving forward, just simply getting ready for Missouri. With Texas A&M beating Auburn last night, then that means they went up even further from us as well too. So it looked like we may end up getting a number 9 seed if I'm correct. I have to go back and look at that again. But what exactly are we needing these guys to do when they come in the ball game? And how much time in the ball game do you think they need? I mean, yeah, of course, and we all know that it's different. It's different when you're talking about a regular season game and an SEC tournament or the NCAA tournament. We all know that it's just win and advance, lose and go home. So is this going to be a situation where Pope says, hey, if you guys can go for 40 minutes or for 35 to 37 minutes a ball game, because that's just what we need you to do tonight, and the supporting cast guys only getting 3 to 4, 5, maybe 7 minutes a game run time. Is this what will be required of these guys? Or are we in a situation where Coach Pope understands that foul trouble has been something that has hurt us all year? If it wasn't for foul trouble, it was injuries. If it wasn't for injuries, it was foul trouble. So, being that it is, are we going to find a way to stay out of foul trouble in order to keep our starters on the floor? Or are we at a point now that where we completely depend on, or we completely believe in what our role players can do? And if we're at that point, then I don't think it's really a matter of being angry if Perry can't guard as a freshman, or if Noah's not going to rebound, or if Chandler looks like he's just, indecisive out on the floor, look like he maybe doesn't really know what he's doing sometimes, or if Garrison's going to, take too many threes, or if he's not going to grab the rebounds that he should be doing, or if Anthony's going to come in the ball game, is he going to knock down shots? At this particular point, it really, and this is for all teams too as well. There's nobody out there that's going to be like, well, we got one more game better. Let's just make a 360 degrees or whatever it is turn and who we are as a team. I think every team out there is, they are who they are. And that's no exceptions for Kentucky as well too. So will these guys show up? How much can we depend on these guys when they check into a ball game? Are they coming in with their head on right? Have they gotten enough game time experience due to injuries to say you're no longer a freshman, but then you're already moving as a sophomore? Or is that not the case for these guys right now? Now, I'm talking about the sophomores, of course. For the freshmen, has the has Ansley really stepped up in a way that he's playing as a guy like we need him on the floor more? Is Garrison, has he stepped up and said we need Garrison on the floor? With the way Williams has evolved over the past 8 games or whatever it is, I mean, he's playing really great basketball. And if he stays on the floor, and I like what BC says on the show, 2 guys that we can't lose right now to foul trouble or anything is Ortega and Williams. And I agree with that right there. I do. I mean, Butler's been out for a few games and we found ways to win ball games without him. It's these other 2 guys who I feel, which means when they go out, because if they're in foul trouble, then you got to bring in an Ansley, or you got to bring in a Chandler, or you got to bring in a Perry, or these other guys. These guys have got to come in the game, and these guys are going to be ready to go. How much do you trust Pope in his judgment making in saying, I got to get these guys at least 10 to 12 minutes a ball game? And is that enough, or is that not enough for these guys to help contribute? Because look, we can put all our feelings aside about how we feel about each one of those individuals. But at the end of the day, for Kentucky to do anything, me personally, I feel like that we need these guys to play at a high level in their supporting cast roles. If they do that, if they come in and if they can hold the fork down while our guys get rest, or if our guys get in foul trouble, can they come in and can they knock down some shots? Can they get some defensive stops? Can we grab some boards? All of this is so important to what we're trying to do here in March. And if these guys can do that, and if these guys are locked in, I don't see how Kentucky can't be effective. Now, you know what I'm saying? Are they the best players in the world? Not necessarily, and I'm just being real, but can they do enough in order for us to still be productive? Look, my thing is this: going into the SEC tournament, it's still kind of shaky as far as where we at. But I feel like if we can get a win against Missouri because of our supporting cast steps up, and if we can get at least the first game win in the SEC tournament because our supporting cast steps up, then I feel like we most likely have secured our spot as a 3 seed in March Madness. And that's okay with me. I'm living with that. That's being realistic. That's probably all that we can really think of. That's really the best we can kind of, maybe think of. I don't see us, unless we win the SEC tournament, I don't see a scenario where we move into a number 2 spot. I think those spots are taken. The next best thing is for us is to get a 3 seed, and we have to live with that as well. But I think we'll be okay. I really believe that that our supporting cast guys are going to show up. I think that they're going to be ready to go. Look, this is exciting times. This is their first times being able to have this experience at this type of level of playing basketball. Ansley, he's been in a big game in the NCAA tournament, so he has that little experience. But even then, he wasn't a major impact in that basketball game. But he knows the intensity. He knows what it's like the night before. So he understands the pressure that comes along to playing in these NCAA games and even conference tournament games as well too. Can our leadership, coaching staff, the older players, can they help these guys to stay mentally locked in? So the goal and the mission and the assignment of what we're trying to achieve here, first of all, is one game at a time, which means our next game up is our most important game in the world against Missouri. Let's see if we can go down there. Let's see if we can take care of it. And that's not going to be an easy game whatsoever. That's going to be a very, very hard game for us to win down there, considering the guys that we have out. But I think it's still possible that we get that win. But I still strongly believe that if we can maximize the potential of our supporting cast, I feel like the Wildcats can make some noise no matter who they playing. And you won't be able to move me off my stance of that, because I believe that we are a team that can play with anybody, even though we don't have Jackson Robinson, even though we don't have Kirk, which we haven't really had all year, but 7 games. Even with the loss of Jackson, I still, and look, I'm not going to be sitting here and be naive and say that I just think Kentucky's going to go out here and win the national championship. Whoa, 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 slow down. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I still think with the pieces that we have in place, with um with with the addition of the supporting cast of the guys that's coming off the bench, I think we got enough. As they say, you gotta wanna play defense. And if our guys can lock in and turn it on 1 game at a time, 1 game at a time is all we gotta worry about. Can we lock in long enough for defense to get the stops necessary to win some ball games? We're gonna see.